Hey guys, Dr. Plague here. Has ditching your bad habit been on your to-do list for a while? Well, I'm happy to bring you today's sponsor, Fume. Fume has a great ergonomic design. It feels familiar in the hand, and it's just a lot of fun to use. It's easy too. You just slip in the cartridge, pop it in, and you're good to go. No smoke, no batteries, just a tasty blast of air whenever you need it. I'm quite partial to the mint myself, but it comes in many fun flavors. There's no cleaning, no recharging, and it's there when you need it, wherever you need it. There's no smoke, no added chemicals, and it's really just a great alternative to whatever might be holding your chain these days. Plus, it comes with this cool little magnetic base, which is just... wow, I really enjoyed it more than I thought I would. So, if you're interested in kicking your habit, go check out Fume today, and go ahead and use my code so they know that I sent you. And thanks to Fume for supporting the channel. When I was in the 4th grade, I met this kid called James. He was a little weird, a bit more than anything, but once I got to know him, he seemed like a cool guy. The thing that stood out to me the most was how good he was at voice impersonations. A little too good, in fact. I wouldn't mistake his voice acting for the person that he was imitating if it wasn't for the fact that it came out of his mouth. However, there was one incident that made me want to stay away from the kid. Typing this out 15 years later, it still sends shivers down my spine. I still don't have an explanation for it, and quite frankly, I'd rather not have one. It was the night before Christmas break, December 12th at my school. As usual, we would go out to have snowball fights and go downhill with the sledge. You know, normal kid stuff. As I was collecting snow, I got a call from a distance. "Hey Thomas, time to go home, let's go." It sounded exactly like my mom, but when I turned around, I saw James giggling while hiding behind a mountain of snow. That was strange. I could have sworn that voice came from at least 30 feet away. But looking at James, he was definitely no farther than 6 feet. "Geez, I thought you were my mom for a sec," I said, pouting. James burst out laughing. "Caught you again. You're so easy to trick sometimes." "Shut up," I said. I was a little pissed at how good his impersonations were, but then again, it was funny to troll other people with, especially the teachers. More time passed by, and eventually, the teachers actually did call us over to let us know that my mom was picking us up. Our plan was to have a sleepover before Christmas break began. My mom picked us up in her car and drove us home. We were left alone with a babysitter for the night since she had to go to work on her afternoon job, plus her night shift. She was a single mom juggling 3 jobs, so it isn't necessarily easy for her. James and I were in the playroom for a while before nighttime came. Bedtime was coming up, but knowing James, he was going to find a way to stay up and perform some kind of shenanigans. Our babysitter, Jackie, walked in and tucked us into bed, both mattresses on the floor, before turning off the lights and shutting the door. It was silent for a good few minutes before James' intrusive thoughts got the better of him. "Psst, Thomas," he whispered. "You up?" I turned around to face him. "Yeah, what's up?" Even though it was dark, I could sense James's devious grin. Clearly, he'd thought of some crazy idea. Clearing his throat, he spoke. "You want to play a game?" His voice caught me off guard. He perfectly impersonated the voice of my crush at the time, Hannah. Again, I could have mistaken it for her, if it wasn't for the fact that I could see James's face right in front of me. "You asshole, you would use her voice on me like that." I slapped his shoulder. He had his face buried in his pillow, holding in laughter. James's voice went back to normal. "Let's play Find and Listen," he proposed. For context, Find and Listen was a game James made up when we first met. I don't know if he'd had the idea before, but I'd rather not know. The game was that you would stand in the middle of the dark hallway and see what your eyes would start making up to scare the crap out of you. It was a really weird game, I know, but we were kids, and James was, well, James. So I went along with it, me and my naive mind. "You should go first," James said, grinning. "I'll buy you a pack of Oreos if you do." "Fine," I replied, getting up. Tiptoeing, I peeked under the door to see if Jackie was still awake. To our amusement, all the lights in the house were turned off, and I couldn't hear the TV, so I slowly creaked the door open. The coast was clear. Taking a deep breath, I stood in the middle of the hallway in silence, staring into the darkness. It was silent for the first few minutes. Even James, who would usually already be laughing his butt off, was completely quiet. Besides the dark walls getting bigger and smaller as I looked around, nothing abnormal happened at first. The first weird thing came soon after. Slight breathing was heard from far away. It wasn't any breathing I recognized, though. Eventually, the sound went from breathing to a subtle groan. A very, very deep groan. I started feeling pressure on my chest, as if someone's entire weight was slamming against it. My breath shortened, body shaking. Whatever I was feeling, I certainly didn't think that I was safe at that very moment. As time went on, my heartbeat increased by the minute, until eventually I could feel it in my throat. James, are you still there? I'm scared," I whimpered, my body shaking even more in discomfort. He didn't respond, but I knew he was because I saw his silhouette still laying down on the bed, sitting crisscrossed. I then felt something brush my shoulder. Jolting, I turned around to see nothing but the other side of the dark hallway. "James," I said, trying to hold the lump of tears in my throat. Again, no response. No matter where I was turning around, I could feel a passive presence behind me, a pressure that I never felt before. I closed my eyes and curled into a ball. However, the pressure only got worse. "James, can the game be over now?" I asked, tears forming in my eyes. This time I did get a response, but it wasn't James's voice. It was a soft girl's voice, and it had a slight echo to it. "I thought you were having fun," it said. "James, seriously, stop," I said, a bit louder. The pressure from behind me switched to the right of me. I could feel something right in front of me, staring at me with an intense glare. Hot breath simmered across my chest. It smelt bad, horrific even. "Come on, why don't we play together?" asked the same female voice. A gentle hand ran its fingers across my shoulder. I tensed up, my whole body, holding my breath. Even though I was used to James's impersonations, this pressure felt different, paranormal. The voice then went from gentle to a deep-throated growl. "It's okay," it said. Suddenly, I began feeling lightheaded. My consciousness began leaving me. It was a strange feeling I can't yet comprehend, even after so many years. The best way I could describe it is when you start seeing stars and feeling lightheaded after getting up too fast, combined with my head getting pulled upwards. I gasped and opened my eyes, and there it was, a dark figure with piercing red eyes and sharp teeth grinning right at me, its face longer than a console table. I let out a blood-curdling scream, tears running down my face. Almost instantly, the lights to the hallway turned on, and Jackie, the babysitter, ran up to me, asking if I was okay in a panic. I was paralyzed, petrified. My eyes were widened, my body still shaking, tears still dripping down my cheek. Next to Jackie was James, his face looking just as terrified. However, something about him felt off. His eyes were glowing a little more than usual. Not too much, but in a weird way, as if the glow was residue, slowly diminishing into nothing. Although barely noticeable, I could see it. James's glare was too familiar to me, but if that was the case, then what did I see? Why did it look so different to the James that I knew? I couldn't sleep that night. I insisted that the lights in the house stay on until my mom came in to pick me up. I slept next to her that night, and James was sent home early. He didn't come back after Christmas break. No one knows why James's family decided to leave without saying a single word after that. Not only did he leave the school, but the city. Strangely enough, no one's heard from him since. 15 years later, I still can't explain what happened that night. Like, James's eyes were glowing, his overly perfect voice impersonations, his strange personality, the eerie games that he liked to play. But one thing's for sure, I'd rather not have any answers to any of it. Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. I'm glad you made it to the end of the story. Thanks for stopping by. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, well, there should be some links popping up at the end of this to other great stories, maybe even some great playlists that you can discover. We update 7 nights a week, so there's always something new and something spooky waiting for you on the channel. If you like your spooky a little more tactile, there should be some links to Amazon down in my description, so go have a look over there. It should get you to all my latest books. Speaking of books, I've got my first horror novel, Towsy Homestead, available for purchase on Amazon. It's my first horror novel, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd go give it a look and maybe give it a buy too. If you'd like to support the channel, we have a subscription program here on YouTube, but we've also got a Patreon with lots of tiers and lots of different rewards. For example, our Spooky Skeleton contributors get their spooky 12 hours early. That's right, they get their videos at 8:30 a.m. as opposed to 8:30 p.m. Ghostly Reader tier contributors, that's a tier that's only available on Patreon, I'm afraid, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep, hopefully in a timely manner. So, however you support the channel, whether it's monetarily or by enjoying our great videos here, thank you so much. Speaking of patrons, before we go, let's go ahead and thank them. Thanks to Sara, Unicorn Hollow, JustAmy, and Cinnamon Fox for being our spooky ghost contributors. Thanks to Shannon McGhee, Janet, Lee Kendall, Ronda J, Sue Casper, Valinar, CleoHarperReturns, Sara, and Queen Sheebah for being our spooky skeleton contributors. And thanks to Oh Snap, Winter, Xaronan, Stephanie Carrington, Tyler Parker, Grim Reaper, TomBoiTopUwU, Queen Sheebah, MissNewBooty, and Alex Connor for being our Ghostly Reader tier contributors. Thanks, everyone. We just couldn't do the show without you. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.